without further ado, I'd like to introduce our friend and an icon in the city of Los Angeles, Mr. Rick Caruso.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here. I'm particularly happy to be here because I am also a San Fernando Valley business owner with my project out in Encino, which Richard talked about. And that was a very interesting project. It was the second project that I built as a developer. And if you remember, for those of you out from the Encino area, it used to be called Lake Havenhurst because there was a big hole in the ground that was started by the previous developer. And every time it rained, it would fill up with water, and it became Lake Havenhurst. The property went into foreclosure, went back to Imperial Bank at that time, now Co-America Bank. And I had my sights on it because Encino is this incredible community and along Ventura Boulevard. And I went to Cindy Mizakowski, who was the council person at the time, and I said, listen, I'm interested in building this project. And she said, Rick, forget about it. You'll never get it done. The community's very tough. They fought every project, went on and on and on, just walk away from it. Anyway, long story short, I decided I wanted to do it, and I had a very simple rule. And the simple rule was, and I didn't know much about development, which I didn't tell anybody at the time. I was a lawyer, and that's always scary when you're a lawyer then becoming a developer. But the simple rule I had was I'm going to go meet with the community, and I'm going to ask them what they want, and I'm going to ask them what they're worried about. And I did that. We built the project. We had no opposition. It's been an important part of that community now for over 15 years. And when you take a look at my career, it's been built really along the whole valley here, whether it's the Commons of Calabasas, whether it's Encino Marketplace. Of course, then we went up to the Conejo Valley up in Westlake, out to Glendale and the Grove. But so I'm very proud to be part of this community, which we call the Valley in Los Angeles. So over the years, I've continued to build projects. I guess that's a competitor. I don't know. Or somebody else running for mayor. I'm not quite sure. Over the years, I'm not making an announcement. Over the years, I've continued to build projects, and I've become a student of how to create livable, inviting human spaces. So what I thought I'd do today is to give you a developer's point of view on how to make Los Angeles a little bit more livable. And in preparing for this, I pulled together some quotes that I think explain what some people feel about Los Angeles. Time magazine called LA the world's most celebrated suburb of nowhere. H.L. Mencken, the great Baltimore newspaper man, said that Los Angeles was 19 suburbs in search of a city. And although Gertrude Stein was speaking of her hometown of Oakland, most people think she was speaking of LA when she famously said, there is no there there. Now, what I find interesting about these quotes is they point to a lack of cohesiveness or sense of place. I love Los Angeles. I was born here. I have my business here. We're raising our kids here. But I think maybe in our hearts, even those of us who greatly love this city, know there's some truth in those quotes. So some time ago, I took a group of our executives over to Europe and throughout the United States. And many cities in the United States, particularly in the East, and certainly those in Europe, have this cohesive center. It's a square with a church on it, a marketplace bustling with shoppers, a park where people come together. And I wanted our executives to understand the importance of comfortable, welcoming public places. So let me raise the question. How does Los Angeles become a more livable city with a cohesive sense of place? Now, if you don't mind, I want to establish one or two credentials on this, so I hope you'll indulge me in saying two self-serving sentences from an article in Los Angeles Magazine. They characterize what our company, I think, is doing pretty well. The article notes, already on LA County's northwest fringes, Caruso's Promenade at Westlake, his Commons at Calabasas, and his Village at Moore Park have taken on the significance of downtowns. The Grove has done a better job of bringing the city's scattered residents together than anything the city has managed to do on its own. Now, those are big words, and I appreciate them, and I know we can always do a lot better, and we're certainly doing that now in Glendale, which we're very proud of our project, the Americana. But what we're learning to do is to become part of the fabric of the community, even if we have to help create that fabric. People want a place to connect. They want basic human needs. They want a place to be part of a community. Our premise at the Grove, for example, was to build a great street. Not the Champs-Élysées, not Michigan Avenue, not Park Avenue, but a street with human scale, because I believe it's all about scale. If you go to the Grove before it opens, it's full of people walking around, hanging out, reading the newspaper, jogging through it, pushing a stroller. For some reason, it's in comfortable harmony with the surroundings around it. And although it's a private retail complex, they feel something connected, shared, something public. They feel part of their surroundings, and they feel safe. We basically changed the scale of living in that area, and in the sacred city of the automobile, we built a street not for the car, but for pedestrians. And today, the Grove gets 20 million visitors a year, 7 million more than Disneyland. So the question is, thank you. I appreciate that. If I could figure out how to make $1 more per person, be in great shape. So the question is, if a developer can create a livable and inviting space, can the city do the same for its residents? And I believe the answer is yes. So how do we make LA more livable? First, I believe we need to have a sense of place that's in scale with how people live. That means the emphasis on LA's various neighborhoods, with each neighborhood having its own center and the city being connected to those centers. In my mind, I see how it could be. I see how colorful, diverse neighborhoods that are full of people and full of life. And that's one of the great things about the Valley and everybody you represent, is there's so many great neighborhoods within the Valley, great streets that have businesses along it, that the city needs to figure out a way, and there's many ways to do it, to help support, to invigorate that business. Because as Richard and the other speakers said, the growth of our economy is all about small business. And it's all about encouraging small business that's here, helping them to grow, and no longer be a roadblock to expand and grow. Because that's where the hiring is going to start. Thank you. I'm also a big believer that we've got an issue with our schools. And let me tell you two reasons, at least two reasons, why I think schools are a problem in LA. First and foremost, obviously, our kids are our future. And if we don't properly educate them in a way, Los Angeles can never grow. The issues for all of us, I don't think, are just what's going on today. The issue is, what's the vision for the city 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now? How is LA going to compete in a global market? What is LA going to be? What is the main source of business in LA? What are our main source of revenues? Where are the opportunities for jobs going to come from? And unless you have the right educational system that's making our young folks the best and the brightest in the community, you just can't compete. The second problem is, in terms of attracting businesses to Los Angeles, one of the first things businesses will look at is the school system. And when you take a look at why a lot of businesses are moving out of Los Angeles or locating somewhere else, never even coming here, part of the problem is the school systems that we have. So the main thing that I believe is LA Unified has just gotten too big. 700,000 students, 30,000 teachers, 1,100 schools spanning 700 miles. It's the wrong scale. There's no way you can be connected to that. And everybody who studies public education will tell you the most important thing is to make sure there's a connection between the school and the community. When you're running that large of an organization, there is no connection between the school and the community. The way it's been solved by many schools is active parent groups, and certainly we need to do more of that. But I'm a big believer that the LA Unified School District needs to be broken up, and the schools. Next is one of my favorite topics, is overregulation. Regulation in the city of Los Angeles is a nightmare. There are 40 city departments and commissions in the city of Los Angeles. You have to ask yourself, do you need 40? And there's times when we're doing a project that I feel that we're dealing with 100, because you never get a square answer the first time out. We have to look at our city government and break it down into smaller pieces and put it in the right scale. I learned a long time ago in the retail business. It's a really simple business. You have a customer, and you need to serve that customer. If I'm not serving that customer every day like all of you are, and all the businesses you represent, your customer goes somewhere else. The customer always has choices. The customer has more choices than the business has. Los Angeles needs to be customer-centric. It needs to realize that everybody who is walking in the door, whether it's for a permit, for expansion, whatever the case is a customer who has paid the dues to be at the counter and should get service. And the process should be relatively quick, and it should be fair. You can't do that when you have that many city departments who are involved in the process of permitting. And then on top of it, we have a tax system in this city, the gross receipts tax, that is just killing jobs. So when you ask yourself, how is LA going to compete in the long term? Not tomorrow, not next year, but for the next 10 years. Can you have a gross receipt tax that takes a percentage off the top before a business ever makes a profit? What's that? I don't know. Maybe you got the right answer to that one. I think the answer is no, because the cities around us are not doing that. So we need to revamp the gross receipt tax. Frankly, I think we need to get rid of it.